Hello, everyone. I see a crowded house. I like it. So my name is Ariel Braunstein. I lead applications and product for IonQ, and I am joined today by Michael Tait. I want to make sure that I do you honor by introducing you correctly. And Michael leads the quantum practice at GDIT in the office of the CTO. He worked for General Dynamics for 12 years as a senior distinguished member of the technical staff and chief architect on multiple projects, large IT projects for the intelligence community and Department of Defense. He has been working on large IT projects for the last 23 years around geospatial software and was also an officer in the Marine Corps. So thank you, Michael, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we decided to come on stage today and share a little bit of our experience in how together between GDIT and IonQ we chose to go to market on a specific project for a very specific segment that we think will be critical for this industry in the coming years. And maybe we should start, Michael, with a quick introduction to GDIT. There are possibility that many people simply don't know who GDIT is.
So GDIT stands for General Dynamics Information Technology, and it's one of the family of General Dynamics companies. We focus on system integration for IT systems across the government. It's about a 30,000 person company out of 100,000 with GDO total. And our revenues are about $11 to $12 billion a year. And we have several thousand customers and projects that are going on at any point in time. So that's sort of who we are.
We are talking about a project that we can't go into too many details due to the sensitive nature of the project, but we can stay above that and talk about the lessons and things that we've learned. Maybe the first question is, why quantum at all in this specific industry?
Well, from a system integrator perspective, our bread and butter is taking the best of technology and applying it to mission systems that our customers ask us to implement, maintain, and operate for them. And we need to use the tools that are best to be applied to those problems. And so early on, my boss, who's the CTO of the company, asked me to look into quantum. And so we've been doing that over the last couple of years. He recognized there was a bow wave coming, that quantum was maturing and maturing rapidly, maybe faster than what the community was thinking it was going to. And so we started looking into it, and we started to see that there were real opportunities. There were use cases in our existing customer base that could potentially use quantum, but we needed to get smart. And we needed to do that through partners, we needed to do that through getting our workforce engaged with these capabilities, and we needed to also start to look for those customers whose use cases we could affect with quantum. So that's why we got started.
And in this specific case, did you pitch quantum to the customer, or the customer came to you and said, I'm interested in quantum?
It's been a little bit of both. We've started to see quantum coming up in procurements as a capability, sometimes as an emerging technology capability in some large IDIQ types of engagements. In other cases, it's been broad area announcements that we could see specifically there was a quantum use case that we could apply to. That was the case in this customer that we're talking about today a little bit. That was an area that we responded to. Didn't specifically call out the capability that we presented to them, but it gave us a crack and they accepted it. And so we're starting to see that in the market. And so we're glad that we've stepped into this process. As an integrator, we're agnostic in technology, but we go after partners that engage strongly with us and will engage strongly with them so we can gain that expertise and understanding in their technology and be able to move together as a team to engage. And so, today I'm here with IonQ, but also there's a lot of other partners out in that room in the expedition because we are looking at all aspects of the quantum workspace.
Right. So when you look at this industry, and here I'm sure we have representative from different aspects of this industry as a whole, how do you segment the industry as you look from above as somebody who's a little bit detached from the day-to-day?
So there's four kind of primary areas. We're looking at it from a computing perspective. We're looking at quantum networking, quantum sensing, and then also the security aspect. And so we early on, a couple of years ago, started to engage on the security aspect and looking at post-quantum cryptography. And so we've done some internal investments and built a team that has now got a product that we're providing to our customers to help them come in and evaluate their IT infrastructure to see how they can become post-quantum ready.
Right.
And we've engaged with partners like IBM and others that have helped us with building tools and providing their tools to help with that space. The other area has been quantum computing. And that's where we engaged over a year ago and have made some real successes in that area and seeing customers satisfied and coming back and asking for more. You know, we just finished executing this first-year project. And so it's exciting. And they can see legs on this such that they're looking at potentially an operational implementation at some point in the coming year. So that's the other area. Then sensing. Sensing is really interesting. We're finding a lot of use cases that can apply quantum sensing. Right now, some of the sensing capabilities are fairly inexpensive. They're very useful in terms of the types of extensions and enhancements to existing sensing capabilities that our customers have, and they're fairly affordable to implement. They're early stage in many cases, and so we're transforming ourselves to be more of a emerging technology integrator and pursuer, and so we're doing that from an internal perspective, but we see a real opportunity to affect our customers' mission with sensing. And then the last area is networking, really exciting. One of the things you guys recently did was make a purchase of a quantum networking company, and that excited us. You've done some research in your areas in the quantum networking, and so I know my boss and his CTOs are very interested in kind of understanding how that can affect our customers' mission, especially when we're dealing with customers that may have their data in a much more secure environment and need to be able to process it using quantum capabilities.
I think that the title of this fireside chat is about a go-to-market. And what's interesting, I think, we've been at it for a year. We've been working on this very successful project for a year. And I think that one of the things that we've learned to appreciate is that over the course of a year, the two teams really established sort of respect to each other and the value they bring to the table, right? So there is IonQ that provides the computing platform, as well as the scientists who can work on the algorithm necessary for this very complex project. And then there is GDIT that brings such wealth of knowledge about how to apply technology for that specific segment. And then you have the customer that can allow themselves to be a little bit more detached from quantum because they trust the integrator, right? Tell me a little bit about that journey over the last year. How did that evolve, that level of trust?
Well, it worked really well in terms of our companies. We meshed well in that regard. We focus on the mission. So our folks come from a government background. A lot of them are former military or civilian government. So they understand the customer's mission. And being able to take that knowledge of mission to be able to come up with the solutions that right, and then understand how to take this technology called quantum computing and apply that, or sensing or networking, and apply that strategically in existing systems to gain value has been really the thing that made things work. Now, are we quantum experts? No, we're far from it. In fact, we're on a journey to build our workforce out. We're in the midst of having a cohort of technical staff taking quantum training right now with one of our partners, Q Control, that's here today. And really starting to get our heads wrapped around how we do this ourselves, but we're always going to need our partners. And we need partners with strong application capabilities that can help us tease out the use cases, but also how to figure out how to best apply the technology to the problems that we're discovering with our customers. And part of our training aspect is, okay, once folks understand the quantum use case and the applications that could potentially do it, they now can go to the customer, and we can go as a team and start to engage and have that conversation, how existing value can be had from these technologies. Even though there's many years to go in terms of their continued development, there's things that we can do now to bring value to the table. And that was one of the findings out of this program.
That's right.
Was being able to take a hybrid classical system, find the gaps in some of the analysis that it couldn't accomplish because there were just limitations to classical, hadn't really bothered, hadn't really impacted the mission, but then find a gap that quantum can fill and see a performance increase from a fused solution, not just quantum on alone or classical on alone, but together a fused system that the customer's seeing value they'd never thought they could get before.
That's right.
And that's exciting.
Right,
that's
and
exciting
it's not exactly where we thought it will go, right? It was sort of the team course-corrected along the way to say, actually, the best solution came from a fusion of both techniques, not necessarily a sort of a pipeline, but more of a fusion.
Right, and it's neat, too, because of the customer relationship we bring to the table, years of working with this customer, there's a trust there, and very quickly they're part of that process. They're learning about the technology, they're learning about its applications, and they're starting to go off and look for more use cases. We even have the director of the organization involved in just helping with that next step of things. So it's a pretty exciting time.
Right.
And the message, I think, is now. You need to be starting
Exactly.
now, right?
So tell me about that argument. So you meet with somebody from the DoD or intelligence community or government who trust you, and they're asking why now? What are the best arguments you give them right now?
Why now? Because there's a little bit of a learning curve with quantum.
Yeah.
It's not the typical, information technology stack of capabilities. You're having to build something new. Yes, some of the frameworks and the connections to classical, and yes, programming environments that use Python and so forth are useful, but understanding fundamentally how you can use the quantum capability from a programming perspective is really critical, and that takes some time. It takes time to wrap your head around it. It takes time to find people who are interested in your organization and start to get them to get smart on that, build the customer's workforce in quantum as well as our own. And then also the technology itself is evolving. And so if we start now and we start looking at how we can take classical algorithms and migrate them to this quantum space, understand where the gaps they can fill, we can start to lay a ground of foundation that allows us to move forward as the capabilities move forward and take more value from this tool, the quantum tool set.
Right. So we were chatting earlier, and one of the interesting things that we observe about the current state of the industry is actually obstacles that are not necessarily intended to be obstacles, but actually end up being obstacles. And one of these narratives is fault tolerant, which many companies are on the bandwagon of, we're going fault tolerant. Why is that an obstacle?
I think it's a great objective because we need to be in the industry, especially you guys who this is your lifeblood, need to be pursuing that to bring stronger and stronger capabilities and more accurate answers to the customer. But one of the things that we battle with is they've heard this, the customers out there. They've heard that quantum is 5 years away or 10 years away. I mean, I fight it in my own organization. I got 30,000 people we have to now educate that, no, it's not quite that long, away. Mm-hmm. In fact, we're making headway. In fact, we won our first project. In fact, we're making headway. The customer wants to so there's this there's an attitude that has gotten planted in the customers out there that we're waiting for this holy grail when there's already a lot that can be leveraged. Right. That's what we've seen with this existing customer and some of the others we're engaged with is there are things that you can add value now. And so, be careful as we create these monikers of quantum advantage and so forth because it makes it hard to get our customers around the course and even our own workforces around the corner to start looking at this seriously.
Right. And I think this is a message and a good realization for all of us because this is a mix of industry, quantum industry, and external industry. Some of our messages in attempt to distinguish ourselves from each other actually hurting commercial opportunities because it creates barriers for the future and expectations for something that is not going to come any immediate term. And business matters to all of us, right? We want that traction. We want to make Michael's life easier in selling solutions out there into government and large projects.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the learning. If you reflect a year ago, when we started this project, what you knew, what your expectations were, versus how you ended up, and what are the things that changed, and what new lessons do you feel you learned?
Well, I was watching the team, from our side, and our team is, incredible mission experts, probably 20 years of writing algorithms and solving problems for this customer from an analytical perspective. And they saw the promise. They were excited. They did some early dips into quantum to get a sense of whether they could do this. But they also weren't sure, It was probably 6 months into the program where we had finally done enough sleeves up, hanging and ringing, figuring out what did and didn't work when we started to see some real progress and saw some moments, crystallization. What we really appreciated was the partnership with your application team because they were learning the mission, right?
Right.
And we were learning the technology and understanding the art that's associated with building these algorithms in a way. And so there was a lot of mutual respect that was developed over a time. And one of the things I think is a beautiful thing, I love teams, is saw a team come together from two different, very different backgrounds, but with the customer's requirement and mission as a focus to get things done. One of the other things I saw was very, is interesting. So our team got more confident in the technology as they saw that. But also your team came to me, one of your lead developers on the application team said, hey, we're really understanding through the mission application of our technology how to tune it. What can we do in the firmware stack? What can we do in the lower level stacks? What can we do in the hardware itself that would allow us to have more flexibility to solve these problems easier, quicker, or better, with less errors, and so forth. And so there's been a cross-pollination that's taken place in these last year between the team, where we've gotten much smarter on quantum. Have a long way to go. We're not implementers yet. We're not at stage. We're just entering stage 2 that Helmut had just laid out. But we're not at stage 3. But to get there, we've got to have these aha moments. And so that's this journey that we've been on, and I think it's been mutually beneficial for both of us.
Absolutely. And one of the interesting things that we've tuned in the way we work is that we're actually designing the hardware to meet the customer needs as a result of these engagements. So it's not about meeting some theoretical benchmarks, but about concrete examples of customers and integrators who actually know the industry really well beyond the need of one customer and can help us understand the broad spectrum of within the specific segment, what are the needs. And the hardware is then being designed with these goals in mind, which means a big difference in how we sort of mind shift about applications should not fit the envelope, the compute envelope of a computer. Computer should design to fit the envelope of the application. And that's the way we have been looking at it, and very successfully as a result of these engagements. We have about 2.5 minutes left. Maybe there are questions with anybody in the audience. Anybody?
I have a question for you.
Oh, please.
Turn the table.
I will be the audience, or you be the audience, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the exciting things that you guys have been doing in the last couple of months here, technology-wise.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things that we have been, as I said, shifting the direction of saying, okay, hardware needs to follow suit to what are the applications. The search for NISC use cases, the search for areas where there is actual value that can be delivered right now I find it to be fascinating. I find it to be very unexpected. There's plenty of publications out there about interesting algorithms that will become available once we have sufficient number of logical qubits with true fault tolerant with, 15 nines. That's fantastic as a target, but it's not now. What's interesting is finding these things right now is unpredictable, and the only way to look for them is to engage in people who actually understand what's valuable. And what's valuable is in the context of specific customer. So these engagements are invaluable, and the value that integrators bring to the table by aggregating the knowledge of an industry is invaluable in that looking for that Venn diagram, that little overlap between quantum capabilities and market value. And that has been an invaluable search, and we are very grateful for your collaboration in that regard, and several other customers like you who help us understand the specific market. And that has been our focus.
Question?
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry, the light is so bright I can't see it. Please.
Floyd Smith, author of Quantum Computing for Dummies.
Love it.
Yes.
Applied quantum software. Question is, what's the effect been on your tech team of the fact that you are working with quantum computing? And what would it have been like, if you can imagine, if you had decided not to do this work? Is it encouraging the people on the team that you're working with the technology, and does the news get out?
Yeah, that's been part of the workforce development, is that throughout the year we've had like monthly quantum capabilities series within our organization. I'll have 200 or 300 people show up that are at the tech level throughout our company. It doesn't sound like a lot, but people are busy. And they would come and spend an hour at their lunchtime going through the technology that our partners, IonQ and many others, have come and done those for us. And now we're starting to reach out into the academic world to find folks that can come in and help us understand more of the applied side of it. Part of the reason why we went with Q Control training was because it gave some of our key tech people a deep dive and understanding, and I'm one of them, you know. And I was really appreciated that knowledge. And so there's a lot of excitement. Part of what we do is, you know, as an integrator, is we have to stay at the forefront of sort of the emerging technologies. And so we're understanding we need to do a better job of that internally. And so quantum is one of the areas where we've really engaged. We've also really engaged in some of the AIML investment as well, because those are key to our bread and butter to our business. But to keep our workforce in place and to have growth patterns that excite people, the best and the brightest, we need to keep these things going. And it brings dollars in. Bottom line, we have to have programs, we have to be able to sell these capabilities, and we have to be able to keep the lights on. And we do that through smart people and with the right technology applied to missions. I think we're over.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, we ran long. I apologize.
All good. Michael and Ariel, thank you so much for a great discussion.
Thanks.
Thank
Ariel.
you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.